Do you guys know that feeling when you see something and you know you have to have it immediately? Well, that just happened to me a few days ago with this skirt. I was scrolling through Pinterest looking for some inspiration on what I should sew next. And let's just say I fell in love with this skirt. I don't know why I hadn't seen it before because now it's all over my Pinterest. I just think it looks so ethereal, so pretty, so classy, yet a little bit vintage and a little bit trendy too. So I think it's the perfect mix of everything. I love the color, the lace details, the design. I love everything about it, and I just know it's a piece that I would like to wear every day. So today we're going to be making it, and the best part is that I'm going to show you how you can make yours too in your own size and really easily. I obviously had to go to Y2K to check if they had any pattern that would work for these skirts, and of course they did. They have the perfect pattern for it. I think it's a match completely, and they actually had few different options, but I ended up choosing this pattern, and of course I recorded a tutorial on how you can do it for yourself. Hi, welcome to Y2K. My name is Fabiana, and in case you're new here, in Y2K you can create accurate and professional sewing patterns using your digital avatar in just a few seconds. Sometimes I say it's a few minutes because if you're new to trying out Y2K, you'll obviously take a couple more minutes, but I swear that if it were up to me and if I didn't film the tutorial, I could make a pattern in under a minute because it actually generates in that time. It's actually amazing, and I continue to be impressed every day when I try it. I'm also quite excited about this pattern because I found the perfect fabric, and I noticed that the pattern is only one pattern piece, so that's incredible. I've never used a one pattern piece pattern, if that's what you would call it, so I'm really excited about that too. And let me just show you the fabric. I think I found the most perfect Georgette fabric. You could also use chiffon, but I find that chiffon is a little bit too sheer for this, and I did want it to have that sheer look but not as much, and I found this perfect like ivory Georgette. I think it's ivory, but it's just a really soft white with a little bit of pink, but it's just a really delicate white fabric. I am so obsessed with it. I know it's going to look beautiful. This is one of those times that I just know this is going to look incredible, and I'm obviously going to line it because I don't want it to be completely see-through, and I bought this fabric for the lining, which I tried already, and it looks really nice under the Georgette fabric. And the best part is the lace. Let me show you. I have to admit that I went to a couple of places before actually choosing what lace I wanted, because I wanted it to be as similar as possible to my inspiration, and I wanted it to look really nice on top of my Georgette fabric. And look how beautiful this one is. I think it's so delicate, perfect. I think it's just what I had in mind and what I wanted to use. And I bought 3 meters. I hope that's enough. And it just looks so pretty over this fabric. I think I'm in love. It looks so pretty, just like I wanted. So yeah, that's the fabric I'm going to be using. So if you want to do a similar skirt, I suggest you use something like this as well. So let's get started. I'm going to show you how you can make the pattern really quickly. Okay, so I just opened up Y2K, and this is the first thing that will pop up and what you'll see. And usually what I just do is go straight to design tools, and here you'll find all of the patterns that you can use from Y2K. So you'll see some blouses, dresses, jumpsuits, shirts, pants, skirts, absolutely everything you can think of. And as you know, I will be making a skirt, so I'm going to go towards the skirts, and this is the pattern I told you about that I thought would be perfect. But I also wanted to show you that there's a 4 gore skirt, a 6 gore skirt, the one I'm using, and a 12 one. So you can decide which one you'd like to use, but I'm going to go for the 8 gore. And straight off the bat, this is how it looks on my avatar. I did want to mention that I set my avatar as the default one, so every pattern I create will be wearing my avatar unless I change it. But if you haven't done that, you have to go over here and select your avatar. This is the one I'm currently using, but if you have none and you would like to create one, you can extract your measurements from a photo of yourself, select standard sizes here, or even enter your measurements manually. Honestly, all of them work perfectly fine, so just choose whichever you're more comfortable with or whichever you'd like to try. And there's not much I'm going to change about this skirt. I do want to mention that the skirt has a waistband, but I'm not going to use it, so just don't mind it. I'm just going to omit that. And right now the skirt is at knee length. Let's see how it will look on ankle length. I think that's too long, and well, obviously floor length will be too long. And for the mini, I think it's too short. I think I like knee length. And there's multiple silhouettes you can choose from, so what I like to do is just go over all of them and see what I like most. Right now we're in Go Days. Straight, no, because that takes off the flowiness from our inspiration. A-line, and this one's flared. Okay, I also like flared. Let's see if we can customize it here. So the hem circumference, it's how wide you want the end or the hem to be. I'm also going to be selecting Gore's and customizing that one. I think I like that silhouette a little bit better. I'm going to move the hem circumference all the way up to here. Perfect. Now I have like more flowiness on the end. The hip circumference we're not going to be touching, and this will also not be touching. So I think I'm going to leave it like that. I think it looks really similar to what I want. Here's the fit map. And here's what the pattern would look. I would need to cut 4 for the back and 4 for the front. And the waistband, which we won't be using. And I think the only thing else I'm going to change is the color. So let's go for a really light, like this. And it'll be with chiffon, so it'll look really sheer. I just selected organza, which has a similar look, not texture look, but I'm obviously going to be lining it. So let's just leave it in cotton, like this. Now I'm just going to save my project. Oh, and before I forget, if you go over here, you'll have a textile calculator, which will just show you how much fabric you'll need for each pattern, which is amazing. I almost always, unless it doesn't go with the design, I always select this one. And my fabric will probably be 150 centimeters wide. So I'll need a little bit less than 1.5 meters for my entire skirt, which is great. And now I can just go ahead, download my pattern. As you know, or if you've watched any of our videos, we have PDF, PDF roll, DXF, in all of these formats, but I usually just go for PDF and US letter formats because that's what I can print in a home printer, which is more comfortable for me. And lately I've been liking to change the gap between patterns like this because it saves a little bit more for each project. And for this one, I'm also selecting paper saving mode. And now I can just go and download it. Here I opened up the pattern, and the first page will always be this, no matter what pattern you print. The second, we have the layout. I love that it's only 4 pages. It's going to be so quick to assemble, and I just have to cut this piece, unfold 8 times. And as I said, I wasn't going to be using the waistband probably. And the rest is just the pattern. I wanted to show you the pattern because, as I said, I'm just going to be using one pattern piece, but the pattern does come with 2 pattern pieces. It comes with the gore, which is basically the pattern piece you're going to cut multiple times for the entire front and back of the skirt, but it also comes with the waistband. But for this skirt, I'm not going to be using a waistband, so it looks like my inspiration. I'm just going to be fully lining it, and that's why I said that it's just one pattern piece, and I just have to cut this 8 times, and that's it. I have my pattern pieces for the skirt, which is amazing. So I'm going to cut that, and I'll show you how I do it. Even though I love the look of a georgette or chiffon, they're a nightmare to cut. They're so delicate, they slip away so easily, but I promise you the results are completely worth it. I know some people say they hate sewing it too, but I actually enjoy sewing it as long as you're using the correct needle and tension. I don't see why you would have a problem. It obviously is a little bit different than a cotton or maybe a linen fabric, which are much easier to sew, but I think it's a fun challenge, especially if you're trying to learn how to sew new fabrics. So I wouldn't be scared of it, honestly. I think you should try it if you're considering it. Okay, so I've carefully folded my fabric, and I'm just going to cut this unfold. You really just make sure that the fabric aligns with the fold edge. I swear it's never going to be perfect. We're not robots, so I don't think you'll ever get all of the 8 pattern pieces to be exactly the same, especially with this type of fabric, but we can try our best. Okay, so here's where I am right now. I just finished cutting my 8 pattern pieces, which are here, or my 8 gores. I have them all here. So there's going to be 4 for the front and 4 for the back. But I did want to mention that I have not cut the lining fabric because I don't know yet if I want to cut the exact same pieces, like the 8 gores, because that would add not bulkiness, but it would add a lot more seams that they would need to be. So maybe I'm thinking that once I sew the front, I can kind of trace the shape of the skirt. It doesn't matter if it doesn't have the same like movement underneath, because the movement will be given by the gores on the main fabric. But I'm thinking that as long as I trace the shape of the waistline and at least the start of the hips, I'm going to be fine. But if I realize that that won't work, I am going to cut the 8 gores. I did want to mention that in case you're following the tutorial, so I've not cut this yet. To attach all of the pattern pieces together, we're going to be making French seams because, as you know, this fabric is see-through, as I said. So if I were to sew it as normal and zigzag stitch, you will be able to see the zigzag stitch from the front of the garment, and we don't want that. So the French seam is the way to go. I have made a few videos before where I've used this stitch and I've shown you how to do it, but I'm happy to show you again. I promise you, it's really simple, it's really quick. So basically, when you're sewing 2 pieces together, you face them right sides together, but for a French seam, we will first face them wrong sides together, and then we'll stitch them right sides together. And before I forget, we are going to be attaching an invisible zipper. I still haven't decided if I want it to be on the side or on the center back. Honestly, I don't know. I'm just going to sew the front 4 panels together first, and then I'll see what I do with the back. Okay, I almost forgot a super important detail, and honestly, I hadn't thought about it. But before we actually sew all of these gores together, we have to attach the lace on top of it. I was looking at the inspiration picture, which I'm going to place on the screen as well, so you guys can see it too. And the design basically goes like this. One of the gores has it looking down, and then the next one connects from that same space, but looking up. So it's basically like a zigzag all around, and to do that we have to cut different pieces for each gore. So we have to cut 8 pieces that align on the sides of the gore. So that's what I'm going to do now. I don't want it to start all the way up because we will also have a seam allowance here, but maybe like 2 or 3 centimeters below that. So I'm just going to mark that. So yeah, let's say it starts 3 centimeters from the waist down, and that's where I start placing them. Just to make sure that all of them match, I'm going to start them from the tallest part of this curve over here. Okay, so here are the first 2, and as you can see, once we line them together, and they do kind of like a V shape. So let's just say this is the left side of the skirt of the front panels, and now I'm going to do the other 2 to make sure they connect here. So basically what I'm doing is measuring 3 centimeters from the side that is going to have it all the way to the top. And I know that that's where it has to start. And on the other side, I'm measuring 21 centimeters. And I know that's where it has to end. I'm going to do the same for the back, but you have to keep in mind that it has to follow the pattern from the sides. So this has to connect for the side back and the other side with the other side. And just look how pretty it looks. I just love it. I know it's going to turn out so pretty. Now the next step is just to stitch them in place. I'm thinking just top stitching here about 5 millimeters from the edge and also on the other side, and repeat that for all 8 gores. I don't know if maybe I'll have to top stitch them like this, like following, but I think it's enough just to do what I said at the start. Okay, so before we start sewing, I do want to mention some things or some tips that I think are really important, especially when sewing these types of fabrics that are so delicate. First thing, you have to sew a test sample or square. So just get a little bit of fabric that was left over and try sewing it as you would the actual garment, and see how the fabric responds to the tension, to the thread, to the needle. And that takes me to my second point, which is the needle. I'm going to be using the most thin and most delicate needle I own, so make sure to do that. I'm going to use a matching thread, especially when you're using a type of white fabric. You don't want the white to be different than your fabric because it'll look really bad. What else? Make sure to test out the tension as well as the stitch length, because that also may drag and like scrunch the fabric, which is something we don't want. And I think that's it. I think that as long as you take care of those things, it'll look really nice. Okay, here I have two of my back panels. They have the lace already attached to it, and I'm going to show you how we're going to sew this together with the French seam. If you already know how to do this, you can skip ahead if you'd like, but it's super simple. As I mentioned earlier, what we have to do is to face them right sides together. Like this, and just stitch from the top to the bottom, leaving about a 5mm seam allowance, so a smaller seam allowance than you would usually do. And just make sure that the lace matches here. I also wanted to show you that I'm going to attach the zipper in the center back. So this is the center back, or one of the center backs, and I attached on the back a small strip of interfacing. This just helps stabilize the fabric so it doesn't stretch as much as I'm sewing the invisible zipper. That's not necessary, but it's a great tip if you want to follow it. Okay, here I have my two panels together, and first what we would have to do is cut any excess seam allowance. So if you see there's a part that's uneven, or maybe there's a part that has more than 5mm of seam allowance, just make sure to clean that up, especially here where we have the lace, and just make sure it all looks even. After that, we're going to press the seam allowance to the side. Now that I've pressed it all, we're going to fold it right sides together. And now the right side should be facing the right side, just like this. And we're going to stitch, leaving about an 8mm seam allowance from the top to the bottom. And what we're doing this is enclosing the raw edge of the previous seam. And when we open it, we'll have a new seam, and this would be our seam allowance, or what would usually be the raw edge that we would have to overlock. Now I just have to press the entire seam towards one side, and just make sure that all of the seams you press are looking towards the same side. So this one is looking here, and this one will also look towards that way. I like to really take my time when pressing the seams because I want it to look as well made as possible, which means taking more time in each step. Okay, so quick update on how it's going. I have my front panels together and my back panels together, except on the center back because that's where I'm going to be attaching the invisible zipper. So here's one of the backs. I have the other one here and my front panel. It looks so pretty. I love how it's looking, and I think the next step is going to be to attach the invisible zipper, which I'm not too excited about, but let's pray and hope it turns out really nice. I've never attached a zipper to this type of fabric, but I think it's going to turn out okay. And after that, I can just attach the front and back panels together on the sides and just do the same French seam that I was doing for the rest of the panels. I'm thinking that I'll have to hand stitch it here so it lays flat, but overall it's looking so pretty. Okay, so I forgot that I also have to cut the lining, and as I mentioned, I was planning on laying the main fabric or main front piece and back pieces on top of the lining and just tracing it out and cutting it. But I wanted to show you I had to come up to the floor because my table is not big enough. But what I'm planning on doing is that from here all the way up to here, I'm going to trace the exact skirt, and from the bottom I'm just going to trace like this. But as you can see, I did leave some flowiness out of it because if I were to open it completely, it would close up the waist and hips, which is what we don't want. It doesn't matter that it won't be exactly the same in the lower part of the gores because it only matters that it's the same on the top. So I'm just going to cut that out, and I'll do the same for the back panels. Okay, so yesterday I left off on sewing the invisible zipper, so I've done that already, and I cut the lining for the front and back panels. I just wanted to show you how it looks right now. I just pinned them on the sides, But here I have a back panel, the front panel, and another back panel. I'm going to sew them on the sides like this. I'm also going to be doing a French seam like for the rest of the skirt. And well, I'm not going to do anything on the back yet because that's where the invisible zipper goes. Well, it doesn't go in this one, but we do have to leave it open to attach it to the rest of the skirt. Okay, this is the front panel, and here's my back panel. As you can see, it has the invisible zipper attached to it already. I'm really happy with the results. I did not know what to expect or how this zipper would look on such a delicate fabric, but it does look really nice. And obviously right now you can see it a lot more because the fabric is see-through, but with a white lining on the back, it kind of like disappears, so you can't really tell there's a zipper as much as you do right now. But overall, I'm so happy. And I managed to do a French seam on the rest of the center back, which was really great because I wanted all the gores and the seams to look pretty even, and now they do. And right now my next step would be to attach them on the sides, so the front panel and the back panel on the sides. And as you can see, the invisible zipper worked perfectly. I think I left it to be about 20 centimeters, but this is a 30 centimeter invisible zipper. I'll just trim it off once I sew it with the lining, so it really doesn't matter if you have a longer zipper. And now it works perfectly. Oh, I forgot, I have to do a French seam, so first we have to sew wrong sides together. Okay, you guys, so I just finished sewing the entire skirt without the lining, obviously, and look how pretty it looks. I'm really excited because I have to admit, I just tried it on. Obviously, I can't show you because it's super see-through, but I just tried it on and it fits me like a glove, which I'm super excited about. And here I have the lining. So I'm just going to attach both of them together, and then I would just need to finish the hem on both panels. So that would be basically it. I'm really excited. It looks so pretty. What I'm going to do is face the right side of my main fabric with the wrong side of my main fabric. And I'll show you why. I'm going to line them on the side seams, first of all. Oh, I'm going to pin all around the lining and the invisible zipper on the back. And when it comes to the back, we have to open up the zipper tape like this and pin it over there. And what we're going to do is start sewing from here. So right where the zipper lets you, up until the waistline, across the zipper teeth and all around the waistline until you reach the other side, and come down on the zipper and backstitch over here. Now I'm just going to close the rest of the center back below the zipper of the lining, obviously. And I'm also going to be making a French seam over here. It's not going to be perfect, but it will look the best because since the fabric is see-through, we don't want the seam allowance or the raw edge to be shown. So I'm just going to sew it first like this, trim out the edge, flip it inside out, and sew it again. It won't be perfect like right here, but at least from here to here, it'll look so much nicer beneath the other layer of the fabric. Okay, I just finished sewing the center back, and I'm just going to trim off the extra like zipper tape I have here in the corners. And now I can flip the skirt inside out. I'm just going to go ahead and press this properly, especially around the zipper. and the waistline. And I'm going to move on to the hem. I just finished the skirts and I wanted to show you because I'm obsessed. It's so beautiful. Look at it, how it flows. Look at the hem. It looks so nice. I love the lace detail. It looks so pretty, so elegant.